Chapter 5. That night, Julian Sheng went back home and told Grandfather of his drunk antics and other events. I didn't think you would actually enter His Highness the Crown Prince's eyes. This can be considered rare. In recent years, His Highness' temperament has been violent, so there are few friendly encounters. Grandfather stroked his beard inside, but his heart was quite worried. This prince's behavior was audacious. He gradually lost his saintly heart, and in recent years a few court consuls have repeatedly presented memorials to the emperor to request a change of heir. It was a disaster for his son to get too close to him, not good fortune. Julian Sheng also knew Grandfather's thoughts, continuing, "When your son accidentally angered the crown prince, the seventh prince was silent in his seat. He was obviously pleased at the events. Father, the seventh prince is not our ally." Grandfather's eyes darkened, then he silently withdrew. Julian Sheng returned to his room, sent away his personal servant, and sat in front of his lamp to meditate. He'd reincarnated many lifetimes, one of which was the founder of demon cult. Not only was his martial arts high, his knowledge of poison was unparalleled in the world. The scent of drugs on Crown Prince's body was thick. He obviously took the drug at least once a day, but this prescription was really deadly. The name of the medicine was Hanchi-san. Its common name was 5-mineral powder. After taking it, people enter into a state of euphoria, but its more fundamentally usefulness was actually the temperament of typhoid fever, and it was a life-saving medicine. The proper use could quickly heal the typhoid fever and stabilize the body, but its abuse could cause addiction, poisoning the body. Taking Hanchi-san could lead to a high fever. If not promptly cooled down, the patient would die. The method of heat removal was eating cold food, wearing thin clothes, sleeping on cold beds, cold baths, etc. The body couldn't get into contact with the tiniest bit of heat, but it was also necessary to drink a lot of wine, and the wine needed to be warm and good. The drunk state would greatly improve heat distribution. After taking it for a long time, many side effects would appear in the body. A violent temper was only the first side effect. There was also excessive high body temperature and easily bruised thin skin, so wearing soft, overwashed, well-worn clothes was necessary. They couldn't wear new clothes, and the clothes needed to be relaxed and elegant, not too tight. In order to reduce foot bruising, they had to give up boots and only wear wooden clogs. The point was, the Crown Prince didn't suddenly turn arrogant and wild. He had no choice in the matter. Thinking of this, Julian Sheng opened 007 and searched for the state of Hanchi-san in Da Zhou dynasty. A moment later, he let out a guttural sigh. Da Zhou dynasty didn't have Hanchi-san on its records. Obviously, the drug was a secret drug, not handed down from ancient times. In the entire Da Zhou dynasty, perhaps only the Crown Prince was using it. The thoughts of the person who'd offered him this drug, Julian Sheng almost didn't need to think to guess this. The Crown Prince was 27, the prime of life. The Tiantian Emperor looked healthy, but he was already over 50. In these ancient times, he could be considered past longevity. Sooner or later, he'd have to fly on a crane to the Western Paradise. The Tiantian Emperor had always doted on the Crown Prince extravagantly. The Crown Prince also worked hard. In politics, he could be described as omnipotent. His governing talent was even better than Tiantian Emperor's, and in his early years, he'd received the support of most of the court councilors and the common people. With such a good heir, who would be dissatisfied? As long as the Crown Prince was stable, naturally no one would surpass him. Someone couldn't shake the Crown Prince's position from the outside, so they tried to destroy it from the inside. He had no choice but to admit that this method was very clever. getting rid of the most powerful enemy without a weapon or soldier. Recalling the heroine who had the medical space and spiritual spring, Julian Shang guessed this Hanshi son was 99% the heroine and the Seven Princes' handwriting. If they wanted to destroy the Crown Prince, then Julian Shang would ruin their plans and help the Crown Prince ascend the throne. Decided, Julian Shang blew out the candles and lied down to rest. The Crown Prince felt that the small champion was very interesting. Not only did he look beautiful, his courage was also great. He didn't exude flourishing vitality all the time, so when he was called in to see him, he felt comfortable. Your Highness, do you have more questions? Zhu Sheng held the Book of Changes and bowed slightly. The Crown Prince seemed to be listening to his lecture, but he was actually staring at his graceful opening and closing lips. He saw him glance over with his pair of peach blossom eyes, and finally woke up, waving. No, sit down. Help me practice my characters for a while. After getting along for 1 month, the two had already become extremely familiar. Jin Sheng sat down and automatically grinded ink for the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince used to write in a quick and bold, semi-cursive script. But 3 years ago, he suddenly switched to a cursive, and it was the most difficult to master, wild cursive. He had extraordinary talent and understood many things. After a few months, he'd mastered wild cursive. Jin Sheng looked down to see him write quickly and powerfully, penetratingly, the words rapidly flowing onto the paper. Too much I have decayed. Alas, all my life I've seen friends and companions fade away. And now how many of them are left, with grey hair hanging in vain, 3,000 meters long? I laugh away all worldly things. Is there anything left, you ask, that might cheer me up? I see in green mountains such alluring charm. I expect that they see the same in me. For in height and in appearance, we are a bit similar. Goblet in hand, scratching my head by the east window, I presume that Tao Yuanming, having finished his poem, Halting Clouds, was in the same mood now I am. Those on the south side of the Yangtze who got drunk only to seek fame, how could they know the magic of the turbid wine? Looking back, I conjure a gust of wind and send clouds flying. I regret not that I can't meet the ancients, but that the ancients had no chance to see my wildness. The number of people who understand me is no more than 2 or 3. This poem is called Congratulation to Bridegroom by Xin Qiao, translated from the How to Read Chinese Poetry. A guided anthology by Song Chi Kai. I regret not that I can't meet the ancients, but that the ancients had no chance to see my wildness. Zhu Yunsheng slowly chewed on this sentence. Then he caught a glimpse of the Crown Prince's hair on his temples, which was actually showing an early hint of grey, and couldn't help but feel a sense of loss. He could write such a magnificent poem in unrestrained calligraphy. The Crown Prince should not have such a ghastly look. Seeing the Crown Prince put down his writing brush, and pick up his wine cup, Zhou Yunsheng couldn't hold back his words any longer. Your Highness, you can't go on like this. The Crown Prince was not angry, only glancing at him with a faint smile. Zhou Yunsheng continued. Please, Your Highness, forgive this insolent official. This official wants to take a look at Your Highness's medication. Why, you want to try it? The Crown Prince put down the wine cup and raised a delicate brow. If someone else coveted his good god medicine, he would have long ago chopped that person into meat sauce. But since it was the small champion, he couldn't even work up the slightest bit of anger. No, if this small official wanted to try it, the small official would have already compounded it, and wouldn't wait until now. You would compound it? How? In this world, only I know the ingredients. Regardless of if of if it was appearance or ability. The Crown Prince was far above regular people, but one thing was somewhat unsatisfactory. That was his fragile body. This was an ever-present defect. It couldn't be managed, and every winter it would bring about an unbearable cough. But he was blessed by heaven. One day, while hunting outside of the palace, he saved the tower's priest, and the tower's priest was grateful, offering him a body-strengthening medicine. He said that after 5 years it would eradicate every illness and grant longevity. The Crown Prince helped the tower's priest for several months, but the man died from his injuries despite the extensive medical care. The Crown Prince naturally tested the prescription on someone to find out if it was fake. But after the test subject took the drug, the effects was significant. The Crown Prince knew that if he sat on a supreme throne with a weak body, he'd always suffer. He tested the drug on dozens of test subjects, seeing their thin bodies grow more robust every day. How could he not be tempted? Now, he had already been taking the medicine for 3 years and had long been unable to get rid of the drug's control. Speaking of which, although this Hanchi's son was poisonous, it really could be regarded as a life-saving god medicine. After taking it, the fierce medicinal effect triggered Qwfod, but after the Qwfod spilled out, the accumulated severe illness would also be taken away, which really could quickly return someone to health. Its medicinal effect not only relied on cold food, cold clothes, cold baths, and cold beds, it also relied on a great amount of exercise which tempered the body. 3 years ago, the Crown Prince was very thin, but now he was muscular, which could clearly be seen through his open collar, so he was naturally convinced of the efficacy of the drug. Zhou Sheng quickly organized his words, cupping his hands to say, "Reporting to Your Highness, the small official's sense of smell is far above ordinary people. Just a sniff is required to distinguish all true smells. The small official is also quite proficient in traditional medicine. Your Highness takes this medicine all year round. Your body is thick with the smell of medicinal herbs. The small official learned the necessary ingredients of this drug and their quantity with one sniff." The Crown Prince was interested, hooking his lips in a smile. "Then tell me, if there's a mistake, I'll punish you." After saying this, he stroked the young man's slender neck, his movements dangerous and ambiguous. Zhou Sheng nodded, then listed the ingredients one by one. Stalactites, 3 potions. Amethysts, 2 potions. Milk quartz, half potion. Sulfur, 3 potions. Ochre. As he spoke, the Crown Prince's expression became capricious. Zhou Sheng was completely fearless. When he finished listening, he frankly said, "Reporting to your Highness, this medicine is a good medicine, but if it's taken for a long period of time, the outcome will be life-threatening. In recent years, Your Highness has become increasingly temperamental. This medicine is the initiator." The Crown Prince placed his right hand on his sword, his eyes flashing, killing intent leaking out. Zhou Sheng didn't wait for him to launch an attack, continuing, "Your honorable Highness, you certainly tested the medicine before taking it, but this method only checks the short-term effect, not the long-term. This small official has a better method. Your Highness can always punish this official for his insolence after testing it. This official also knows that today's words should not be said. He fears incurring death from excessive speech. But this official couldn't bear to let the Crown Prince be unknowingly killed by some schemer, so he risked death to advise royalty. Please, Your Highness, give the official a chance to prove himself." The Crown Prince pinched his jaw, his malicious gaze boring straight into him. Glimpsing the heavy concern and love in his eyes, the Crown Prince's heart shook fiercely. "Fine. I'll give you a chance." After a long time, he let go of the boy. His thin lips raised to a cold smile. Julian Shang's chin, already imprinted with a few purple bruises from his grip. He backed up 2 steps, rubbed his chin, his eyes tearful. Seeing this pitiable and lovely look, the crown prince's piled-up rage was unexpectedly swept away. The next day, the small champion brought 2 little white mice into the palace and presented them to His Highness the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince carefully raised them for several days. He seemed very fond of them. One day, when he returned from court, a palace eunuch hurriedly ran over, saying in a panic, "Reporting to your Highness, the 2 white mice had an accident." The Crown Prince's heart was apprehensive. He quickly entered his room. He found the 2 already crazy white mice squeaking and biting at the golden cage. The 2 incisors were already broken, but they didn't give up, even using their claws to scratch, wrapping around each other in a crazy fight. A quarter of an hour later, only 2 pools of stinky flesh remained in the cage. The 2 lovely mice were long gone. The prince stared at the golden cage. His complexion changed from white to green, then green to purple. He was obviously angry to the extreme. What Taoist priest? What god medicine? What gratitude? Who is behind this? The second prince? Third? Fourth? Or are all of them joining hands to kill me? The crown prince slowly walked to the table, drank from the pot of warm wine, and finally couldn't suppress a chuckle. No matter who, he would rather kill them all than let one slip away.